Good morning and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, Augusta Westland VVIP chopper deal is our top focus. Now, Rajya Sabha is to debate the issue, even as Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar is to make a statement in Parliament today. Also in our top international news, well, Donald Trump is the presumptive White House nominee as Ted Cruz pulls out of the US presidential race. We'll get you all the details on that as well. But let us begin with the headlines. Rajya Sabha Chairman Mohammad Hamid Ansari rejects Vijay Mallya's resignation. Rajya Sabha Secretary General writes to Mallya that his letter does not conform to the prescribed procedure. Short duration discussion in the Rajya Sabha on the Augusta Westland case. Congress President Sonia Gandhi holds strategy meet with party leaders. UN court says Italy will have to return Marine if India's jurisdiction in the case is proved. This as government clarifies in Lok Sabha that India's position in the case has not weakened. Amidst the scorching heat, some respite. Rains in parts of Rajasthan, Bengal, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. And it is all but a clear road for Donald Trump's Republican nomination. Ted Cruz drops out of the race after humiliating defeat in Indiana. Well, Rajya Sabha Chairman Mohammad Hamid Ansari has not accepted the resignation of Vijay Mallya. Now, Secretary General of Rajya Sabha Shamsher Sharif has written to Mallya that his resignation letter did not conform to the prescribed procedure and did not bear the signature in the original. Now, according to Rule 213 of the procedures, resignations of members should be voluntary and genuine. Earlier, the Ethics Committee of the Rajya Sabha discussed matters relating to Mallya. The committee chairman, Karan Singh, confirmed that members had reached a unanimous decision. He further added that the Rajya Sabha will be informed of the decision today.
We met today, the Ethics Committee, as scheduled. It would not be appropriate for me to reveal what transpired in the committee because that is supposed to be confidential until it is placed before the House. But I can say this much, that we did take a decision unanimously, and tomorrow I am hopeful that I will be able to present the report to the House along with the resolution.
Meanwhile, there will be a short duration discussion in the Rajya Sabha today on the allegations of bribery and corruption in the Augusta Westland chopper deal. Subramaniam Swamy, Bhupendra Yadav, Prabhat Jha will be among those who will raise the matter for discussion. Ahead of the slated discussion, Congress President Sonia Gandhi held a strategy meeting with senior party leaders on Tuesday evening. BJP leader Subramaniam Swamy had earlier dragged Sonia Gandhi's name on the matter in the upper house last week. Now, party leaders are of the view that while they are willing for a debate on all aspects of the matter, they are not willing to accept defaming of their party leadership by the BJP. Meanwhile, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar is also slated to make a statement in Parliament today on the chronology of the entire deal.
ये चीज़ें वो लोग हमेशा करते आए हैं और भी करते रहेंगे। उनकी मंशा यही है कि किसी हालत में गांधी फैमिली को, कांग्रेस पार्टी को डिफेम करना, अगर ये डिफेम हो गए तो पार्टी इनकी ख़त्म हो जाएंगी, या ऐसा उनका सोच है। लेकिन गांधी फैमिली को कोई ख़त्म नहीं कर सकता और ऐसे कितने भी बीजेपी के नेता लोग बात करने दो, कुछ होने वाला नहीं है।
कांग्रेस की सरकार थी, डील की गई, डील के सारे टर्म्स बदले जा रहे थे। रक्षा मंत्री ने भी जो अपनी कही बात थी डिफेंस के फाइल पे जो नोट किया था, ऐसा प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में कहा गया है, मीडिया में आया कि भारत के अंदर में ट्रायल नहीं होना चाहिए, इंग्लैंड में हो जाए। हेलीकॉप्टर को भारत में उड़ना है, ट्रायल इंग्लैंड में हो रहा है। तो ये सारे गंभीर प्रश्न है और इस सब में जो इन्वॉल्व थे डिसीजन मेकिंग में, उनके ऊपर में तो प्रश्न उठेंगे और उन्हीं से शायद पता पड़ जाएगा कि किनके कहने पे ये सारे डील्स हो रहे थे।
And on to other big story of the day. Now, the Permanent Court of Arbitration at The Hague has said that Italy will have to return its Marine Salvatore Girone held in India on murder charges in case the court finds Indian jurisdiction over the case. Now, the UN court said that Italy and India shall cooperate, including in proceedings before the Supreme Court of India, to achieve a relaxation of the bail conditions of Sergeant Girone. It also reiterated that Girone will continue to remain under the authority of the Supreme Court of India, but may return to Italy during the present arbitration. This comes after Italy said that the tribunal had ruled in favor of Girone by allowing him to leave for Italy. India, on the other hand, said that Italy was misrepresenting the case and said that the bail conditions will be set up by the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, Italy's defense minister has said that Girone will return home in a few weeks as there are bureaucratic procedures to go through. And earlier, the government on Tuesday informed Parliament that India holds jurisdiction over Italian Marine Salvatore Girone. The clarification comes a day after the UN Permanent Court of Arbitration asked India to allow the Marine to go back home, pending a case over jurisdiction issues. Now, Union Minister Arun Jaitley told Lok Sabha that the tribunal had confirmed Italy's obligation to return Girone to India after its jurisdiction is established.
India will vigorously pursue the Italian Marines case before the UN Arbitration Court to ensure justice for victims. Information and Broadcasting Minister Arun Jaitley told Parliament on Tuesday, a day after a UN Arbitration Court asked New Delhi to release the Marines. Making a statement in Lok Sabha on behalf of External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, Jaitley asserted that the issue of jurisdiction, which is at the heart of the case, is yet to be argued before the tribunal. He further clarified that even if the detained Italian Marine returns home as per the UN tribunal's orders, he would remain under the Supreme Court of India's jurisdiction.
We strongly believe that India has jurisdiction in this case, and this position has been and will be our unwavering stance. As a nation that respects international law, we will pursue our case vigorously before the arbitral tribunal. The government will fight for the rights of the victims of this incident and are confident in obtaining justice for them and their families.
Jaitley also informed members that the UN tribunal has left it to the Supreme Court to fix precise conditions of the Italian Marines' bail. The government will now approach the top court for direction.
The government will approach the Honorable Supreme Court for its directions in the matter. We see the tribunal's order not just as a recognition of India's consistent position and the key arguments, but also as an affirmation of the authority of the Indian Supreme Court.
Jaitley's response, however, failed to pacify opposition members who criticized the government for its handling of the case. Congress members, including Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, staged a walkout, alleging that the release of the Marine was a fixed match.
मोदी जी जब मिले थे इटालियन प्रधानमंत्री से तो उन्होंने कहा था कि कोई झूठ सही साक्ष्य गांधी परिवार के खिलाफ दीजिए तो हम आपके जो हमारे 2 भारतीय मछुआरों की हत्या हुई थी उसका जो आरोपी है इटालियन दो मैरीन उसको छोड़ देंगे। तो अगर इस तरह की बातें हुई हैं अगर तो ये बहुत ही चिंता का विषय है, देश के लोगों को सोचने का है कि सरकार किस स्तर तक गिर सकती है।
The 2 Italian Marines were arrested in February 2012 off the coast of Kerala for allegedly shooting down 2 fishermen, reportedly mistaking them for pirates. While one of them is already back home on health grounds, Italy has been seeking the return of the other Marine as well. The case has triggered a diplomatic row between India and Italy. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, moving on in the bulletin now, the Standing Committee of the Ministry of Home Affairs pulled up the centre for the 2nd of January Pathankot terror attack. Now, the panel claimed that had the centre been serious and the intelligence agencies functioned properly, the picture would have been entirely different.
Were security agencies taken by surprise by attackers at the Pathankot airbase? The Standing Committee of Ministry of Home Affairs seems to think so. Panel Chairman Pradeep Bhattacharya said the agencies were ill-prepared to anticipate or counter the threat swiftly.
ये बहुत बड़ी ज़रूरी है कि हम इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज को हम प्रिपेयर्ड स्टेट में रखें और देश की नेशनल सिक्योरिटी में ये बहुत बड़ी कदम होते हैं.
Standing panel members said they had a long interaction with officers at the base. According to them, the information came on the morning after the attack, and that too not from Punjab but from the Delhi Air Force.
सांसदों की संसदीय समिति की अनुशंसाएं गंभीर हैं और भारत सरकार को इससे सबक लेना चाहिए। उनके द्वारा की गई आलोचना शर्मनाक है।
The government said it will take the report seriously and take appropriate steps. Panel members claimed there are very unsafe conditions at the Pathankot airbase.
Serious note of the Parliamentary Standing Committee's recommendations, and we will ensure that all those concerns are being addressed properly.
The committee said it was unable to understand how the terrorists reached the Pathankot airbase despite terror alerts being sounded well in advance.
बात तो दिखी थी कि जिस तरीके से पुख्ता इंतजाम होने थे वो शायद नहीं थे, और अगर स्टैंडिंग कमेटी ने, स्थायी समिति ने उसमें गलतियां निकाली हैं तो ये अच्छी बात है। इससे हमारे आगे जो हमारी डिफेंस की जो या रक्षा मंत्रालय की जितनी भी स्थापित जगह हैं उनको और सुरक्षित करने में मदद मिलेगी।
India has said the Pathankot airbase was attacked by heavily armed Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists. 4 terrorists and 3 security forces personnel were killed in the operation. A 5-member Pakistani joint investigation team visited India in March to collect physical evidences. But so far, Pakistan has not agreed to allow a reciprocal visit by India to probe the attack. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, parliamentary panel, they're slamming centre over the Pathankot attack. Now let's listen into some of the reactions coming in.
Country was given the assurance that everything has now been plugged and security is virtually foolproof. This parliamentary committee report of the Home Affairs indicating that this is not so is a huge indication that perhaps Defence Minister's orders have not been implemented and incorrect reports have been forwarded.
Pathankot issue, if the government of India were serious and the intelligence functioned properly, then the picture would have been different. Further, I feel still now, today, very unsafe condition of Pathankot Air Base.
And on to news from Uttarakhand, and the Supreme Court will continue its hearing on the Uttarakhand political crisis today. The Apex Court has given time to the centre till today to respond on whether a floor test in the State Assembly under the court's observation is feasible. Now, during the brief hearing on Tuesday, the bench asked the Attorney General to take instruction and apprise it about the feasibility of holding the floor test. The Apex Court was hearing the centre's appeal against the Uttarakhand High Court's verdict revoking President's rule in the state. The centre, remember, had introduced President's rule on 27th of March, one day before Chief Minister Harish Rawat was to take a trust vote in the Assembly. The Uttarakhand High Court pulled up the centre for its action and revoked the President's rule before Supreme Court then stayed its order and ordered status quo.
चूंकि हम बहुमत में हैं, इसलिए डर से मोदी सरकार के उनका पाप खुल के आ जाएगा, इसलिए फ्लोर टेस्ट टाल रही है।
अब सवाल यह है कि फ्लोर टेस्ट में उन विधायकों का क्या होगा जिनकी सदस्यता माननीय स्पीकर साहब ने निरस्त कर दी है। जो भी होगा ठीक ही होगा। सुप्रीम कोर्ट कोई बात कहती है तो सोच समझ के कहती है, तो उनका जो निर्णय आएगा वो सिरोधार्य होगा।
Well, time now for a very short break. Stay tuned for more after the break.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back. News coming in from the national capital. While providing major relief to lakhs of school children from the tormenting heat, Delhi government has ordered all schools in the city to advance their summer vacations to 11th of May. The Education Department issued the order to this effect to all private, government-run as well as those schools which fall under the municipal bodies to observe the mandatory summer vacations. It said the decision has been taken in view of the searing heat and the predictions of temperature rising further. The national capital, remember, this week witnessed the hottest day of the season with mercury soaring to 44 degrees Celsius, 5 notches above the season's average. While the summer vacations in government-run schools begin from 10th of May every year, private schools have varied schedules. The duration of the summer vacation is around 1.5 months. Now, there are over 3,500 private schools, 1,150 government-run schools, and over 2,500 schools run by various civic bodies in the city. Meanwhile, searing heat continues in many states across the country, with the death due to sunstroke being reported from Odisha as well as Kerala. But amidst the rising temperatures comes the news of rain in many parts of the country, bringing in much-needed relief. Thunderstorms followed by sharp showers lashed several parts of Himachal Pradesh. Temperature dipped drastically in Shimla on Tuesday after a fresh spell of rain, after recording 29.2 degrees Celsius, marking the hottest day.
शिमला का मौसम बहुत सबसे ज़्यादा हॉटेस्ट था, तो आज बारिश की वजह से बेशक भीग रहे हैं, पर बहुत अच्छा मौसम हो गया है। एकदम बढ़िया है, एकदम मस्त है, बारिश चालू है, बहुत दूर से आए मुंबई से, हाँ अच्छा लग रहा है।
Meteorological Department had predicted rainfall for the next 2-3 days in some parts of Himachal Pradesh. Kalpa received mild showers, while Kufri recorded 8 millimeters, Shimla 4 millimeters and Sundarnagar 3 millimeters of rain.
शिमला में बारिश हुई है, हिलस्टॉर्म भी हल्का हुआ है, जिससे तापमान में भी काफ़ी गिरावट हुई है। बाकी भी हिमाचल के और जो इलाके हैं वहाँ पे भी बारिश हुई है, हल्की बारिश है। ये जो बारिश है अगले 2-3 दिन लगातार रहेगी। कल जो कि हॉटेस्ट दिन, इस जो सीज़न का सबसे गर्म दिन सभी जगह रिकॉर्ड किया गया, तो आज ये कह सकते हैं कि काफ़ी टेम्परेचर में गिरावट आई है। दोबारा से जो सर्दी वाला जो माहौल शिमला और जो पहाड़ी इलाकों में वो रहेगा अगले 2-3 दिन।
Mild showers accompanied by dust storms were also reported in parts of Rajasthan, West Bengal, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Hyderabad, Jaipur and West Bengal's Haldia witnessed mild showers on Tuesday.
It's entirely different weather over here because we are coming from more than a 40 degree in Bharuch, and we just arrived before a couple of days back and we found that it's rainy with snow. I mean, it's really a very nice experience to be here in Shimla.
Met Department's prediction comes as a relief to several parts of India. Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, NCR and western parts of Uttar Pradesh also saw change in weather conditions, which gave slight relief from scorching heat in the month of May. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. An update on the drought in Maharashtra, and the Bombay High Court asked the Maharashtra government to inform what steps it has taken to tackle the drought situation in the months of May and June. While hearing a PIL filed by Lok Sabha movement, the bench also asked the state government to explain why it had not declared a drought in the state so far. Lok Sabha movement, remember, had filed a PIL to shift all the IPL matches out of Maharashtra due to water scarcity. Maharashtra government is expected to file a reply on 5th of May. Meanwhile, child rights activist and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Kailash Satyarthi has urged Prime Minister Narendra Modi to declare drought as a national emergency. Satyarthi said that at least 10 states are reeling under harsh drought and over 163 million children are affected due to it. Meanwhile, water is set to get scarce over May and June as they are the hottest months, though many regions have already registered temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, whereas Jaisalmer recorded 50 degrees Celsius.
Declare drought as a national emergency immediately. Secondly, assess and analyze the effect of drought on children and ensure that no child in the drought-affected areas is forced into child labor, bonded labor, child marriage, or is trafficked or compelled to leave school.
News from Gujarat, and Lalji Patel, the head of the Sardar Patel group, was detained by the Gujarat police till last night in connection with the violence during the Patidar community agitation last month. Patel was detained by the local crime branch of Mehsana. The SPG group had organized a jail bharo protest last month, during which there was a lot of violence reported in Mehsana town. Lalji had sustained head injuries in the protest, and he at that time had claimed that he was hit in the police baton charge. He was admitted to Lions Hospital of Mehsana, from where the police detained him. The police had used tear gas and baton-charged mob of Patel community members on 17th of April when their protest turned violent after some members in the group indulged in stone pelting. Police had later registered a case of attempt to murder and rioting against Lalji and 37 others. Lalji's SPG and Hardik Patel floated Patidar Anumat Andolan Samiti and are leading Pathankot agitation in the state of Gujarat. Now to some election news, and the Election Commission on Tuesday took a stock of the preparedness for the 16th of May Assembly elections in the state of Tamil Nadu and expressed satisfaction over it. Election Commission team met with the officials of various districts in the city and discussed the poll preparations. A total of 66,000 polling booths have been reportedly set up, and a total of 1.44 lakh EVMs will be used in the elections. Meanwhile, several companies of the paramilitary forces have started arriving in the city. The forces will be deployed on election security duty in various parts of the state. Police personnel from Maharashtra have also arrived in the city for their election duty. The Election Commission has initiated several steps for ensuring free and fair polls. Recently, top police officials, including City Police Commissioner T.K. Rajendran, was also replaced by Ashutosh Shukla.
We are quite satisfied with the arrangements made here so far, and we would be very closely monitoring the entire electoral preparation. We have asked the entire election machinery to galvanize more and more visits to the vulnerable polling stations.
6 कमी नहीं है, मतलब 600 आदमी तो होगा. इस कांजीपुरम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में सबसे बढ़िया इलेक्शन करने के लिए हम आए हैं. हम वो अच्छी तरह निभाएंगे और आगे भी अच्छा काम हमारे से आपको मिलेगा.
Now let's get you the big international story. And U.S. Republican candidate Ted Cruz of Texas has suspended his campaign to be the GOP presidential candidate, potentially ending any real battle for the party's nomination. Now, the developments came after Donald Trump won the Indiana primary decisively. As a result, Trump is now the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, though he has not formally secured the 1,237 delegates that he really needs to win the nomination. He is falling short of 196 delegates presently. Cruz tried to pull off a last-ditch win in Indiana, including forging a pact with John Kasich to keep Trump from reaching those delegate numbers. But none of those moves worked. Cruz was the only candidate to notch multiple state victories against the real estate magnate, but the glow of those Cruz victories had faded after Trump won a resounding series of 7 straight victories. Meanwhile, the Democratic race, Bernie Sanders has pulled off a shock victory in Indiana. Now, this is a last-minute hurdle in front of Hillary Clinton's march towards the Democratic Party nomination. Now, his win comes despite opinion poll predictions. On to news from Middle East now, and amid efforts to restore peace in Syria, the city of Aleppo continues to be at the receiving end of relentless bombardment by the government forces and also retaliatory shelling by the rebels. Now, at least 3 women are killed and 17 more people wounded after insurgent rockets hit a hospital in Aleppo on Tuesday. It was the 6th attack affecting a medical facility in nearly 2 weeks of fierce fighting that has left more than 250 people dead and the city on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe. Well, amid the raging violence, diplomatic efforts have intensified on restoring the partial truce that was agreed upon in the month of February. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry warned Syrian President Bashar al-Assad that seeking military gains will not end the civil war. Earlier, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov held talks with the UN envoy Staffan de Mistura in Moscow and said a unilateral truce declared by the Syrian military could be extended to Aleppo in the next few hours. He said that Russia was working with the UN and US to include Aleppo in the regime of calm that has covered Damascus and Latakia since Saturday.
И мы призываем всех наших партнеров, прежде всего Соединенные Штаты, как сопредседателей в международной группе поддержки Сирии, использовать свое влияние на членов возглавляемой ими коалиции для того, чтобы подобные ультиматумы.
Our hope is that they're able to come to an agreement and that we can move forward on the agreement. If that doesn't happen in the next hours, I'm still confident that we will find a way to be able to work through. If it isn't in the next hours, as I say, it'll maybe be in the next day or so.
On to news from Canada, and Alberta, in the heart of Canada's oil sands region, is racing to evacuate thousands of people as an uncontrolled wildlife burn, forcing residents to flee north to safety. Local authorities have issued a mandatory evacuation order for all of Fort McMurray, Alberta, which affects the city's 80,000 residents. The 6,540-acre fire, which was discovered on 1st of May, has closed off the main southern exit from the city, prompting residents to head north towards the oil sands camps. Let's now get you all the sporting action. Here is the sports beat. European soccer's administrative body UEFA has voted to accept Kosovo as a new member despite strong opposition from neighbour Serbia, from which it declared independence in 2008. 28 of UEFA's members, the minimum necessary, voted in favour of Kosovo and 24 against after a long and heated discussion at the Congress in Budapest. The Olympic torch arrived in the Brazilian capital, initiating the official relay, which will run 95 days up till the opening ceremony in Rio de Janeiro in August. The flame travels in a safety lantern, which allows it to be carried on aircraft and in high winds. The same flame is used to light a series of other lanterns in the case one should go out. It will be raised by 12,000 people throughout 335 cities. Cricket legend Sachin Tendulkar accepted the Indian Olympic Association's invitation to become the country's goodwill ambassador for the upcoming Rio Olympics. Tendulkar is the third goodwill ambassador in IOA after Bollywood actor Salman Khan and ace shooter Abhinav Bindra. The Indian Cricket Board has recommended Test captain Virat Kohli for the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna, the country's highest sporting honour, and Ajinkya Rahane for the Arjuna Award this year. The prestigious Khel Ratna Award carries a cash prize of 7.5 lakh rupees in addition to the citation, while the Arjuna Awardee receives a cash prize of 5 lakh rupees and a citation. Well, that's all in this edition of News at 10. Coming up ahead is Parliament news in both English and Hindi. Stay tuned.